Alrighty folks, this is Lurch from Ireland Gaming and welcome to my Back to Basics series where we're going to be covering shields and how to place them and where to place them. So this is the shield projector. You can find it in the build menu under miscellaneous in the shield projector tab. And it's a sub menu, so we also have a shield color changer. I'll show you how to use this later. The shield projector, if we just place one here, is your defense against cannon shells, both cram, advanced cannons, and even pellets, anything kinetic. Except for missiles. Shields don't defend against missiles. If we look in the menu here, you can turn the shield off with the None selection. You can use Disrupt Shields, which are disrupt the path of projectiles, and the larger angle of incidence, the larger the deflection will be. Increase power to further increase deflections. So this is a way of refracting the shell to make it take a different path. It doesn't bounce it away, it just changes its path. Reflect Shield does as you might expect. A chance to ricochet projectiles away. So this increases with angle of incidence and increased power. Armor-pierced projectiles have a higher chance of penetration, so higher armor-pierced values have a better chance of getting through your shields, and more slopey shields, or the angle that the shield is struck at, affects how likely the shell is to go through, so these are both factors. Next we have laser absorb shields, and we're going to cover them at another time. They absorb a fraction of incoming laser damage, and they rely strictly on batteries. You can't use an engine to power these. They're a pretty interesting block, but we're going to keep it simple and we're going to use reflect shields, and this is what you'll be using almost all of the time. First of all, we have a range slider, and this, as you might expect, changes the range that the shield is at. You can see the range. This is the shield here, and when we change the range it goes up and down. Hurrah! Range affects your power use, and it's a linear multiplier, so at 25 meters we have 25 times the power use. Next we have width, which does as you might expect. This also increases your power use. Height does as you might expect, increases your power use. And these two combined to create your basic power use, which is obviously a 25 by 25 is going to require more power than a 3 by 3. We have azimuth and elevation. And azimuth, let's get the shield here so we can see it in the background there. Azimuth is like turrets, your left and right rotation. You can see the shield wobbling back and forward there in the background. And elevation it's your pitch, and you're able to elevate it like that as well. These are both really handy because the angle that the reflect shield is struck at is a big factor in whether the shell gets through. So having them closer to 45 degrees or as close to 45 degrees as possible is excellent defense against armor piercing rounds. Next we have effect strength, and effect strength is the biggest factor in your power use. We're starting off at 0.35. Really, really low. It's a pretty small shield and it's a really weak one. It's only strength 1. We can ramp this up and suddenly it's gone up to 1.39, which is an awful lot more than our previous value. If we go up to 3, it goes up even more and starts to scale really quite dramatically after about 5. At strength 10, that uses 34 power for this little dinky shield. It's a pretty powerful shield, but that's an awful lot more than the 0.32 it was, 3.5 that we started with. It's an astronomical increase. It's way more than 10 times. It's 100 times. So this is something that you want to be very careful of using at high values, unless you have the power to support it. So let's put this in somewhere a little bit more reasonable, and we'll talk about shield placement. Okay, let's get these placed. I think I want to have them somewhere about here. And we'll go with 4 shields. We're going to keep them sort of weak. And we'll put one about here and one probably about here. Both on the inside. Now, counterproductively you might think, I'm going to be pointing these upwards, even though they are flat. And you will see why in a little minute. But let's get this one configured before we start looking at even more. Now, because I said the range is a multiplier, we can actually pull the range quite far down now. We can set the width to, well, almost maximum. We want to cover all of that. And you can sort of just see it in the background there. The height, we want to probably have something about there. Looks good to me. And now we want to set the elevation, and this is the important part. We can set that all the way to 45 degrees. And that is skimming the edge of our hull there. You see the way that the block is trimming through a little bit? That's really bad. If that corner gets hit, that can actually take a cannon shell. So we probably want to drop this down just a little bit. There we go. Now, that is a nice, closely hugging shield at a really steep angle. Now, it doesn't protect stuff under the water. The water has its own sort of armor by itself. Now, we can add maybe a little bit more extra, just in case, to get a little teensy bit more protection. That comes down pretty far here, and it most importantly covers the ammo at the front here. Okay, now that we're kind of happy with the shield placement and its size and stuff like that, we can set it to reflect mode, and we can start playing around with the strength of the shield. Now, we don't have very much power available. The two huge propellers at the back of our ship use 75 power each, and we have 6 ammo producers, each using 20. So at 120 for the ammo producers and 150 for the combined total of the propellers, we don't have all that much power left to go on. This ship only has 800 power, and 270 removed from that leaves us with 530. 530 split between 4 is about 140 each, so we don't really have very much to spare. That's why we're going to keep the effect strength pretty low. This will be set to, strength 3. That works pretty well. It uses 100 power and it leaves us just a little bit of leeway to help out later on. Now, something else we're going to do is use the copy settings button. I don't want to go through every one of these shields and have to set each slider individually. That would suck. But we can copy these settings to the clipboard. If we copy that and then move over to the other shield that I set with mirror mode. Oh, where's my pointer? There we are. Come here. And we can just paste the settings in, and it has the settings all there, lovely setup, and it means we don't have to do it again, which is awesome. Now we're going to have to place another 2. Now, how far along do we want to go? Probably about here. Looks about halfway, right? And seeing as we have our setup already, we're going to have to make space, aren't we? Put that there and set this with paste from clipboard. Oh, would you look at that? Because this part of the ship is slightly better armoured, it's a too thick hull, it is in a slightly different place, so we're going to have to tweak these elevation settings. So before we paste it to the other side, let's make some modifications. We can probably just lower the elevation angle a little. It means it doesn't cost any more power. We could have set the range higher, but this is cheaper. And we can do this anyway, and it works just fine. We can also maybe increase this a little bit. Because we changed the elevation, we lose some of the protection at the waterline. So that's going to cost us less than increasing the range would have. Because if we set the range to 4, it jumps up considerably. Now we can copy these settings and paste them to the other side, because they're going to be right. It's a bit of a crisscross, and we haven't got any protection in the middle here. Just not enough. We could put in some extra shields, but there's not really much to protect here. I mean, look, there's nothing in behind. There's the AI is here, but it's protected from, by this shield. So we can maybe leave that spare. You don't have to go for 100% shield placement, and I might just put some metal here instead. Okay, one final thing are shield color changers. And you really don't want to be placing these until the very end after you've got all of your shields set up already. Now these are a bit of a finicky get to place, and you'll want to look out for that little green indicator. They only attach to the side of a shield controller. You cannot place them on the bottom. Won't let you. So we'll stick it on the side, and we'll press Q to get into the menu. What many people just do is pull the alpha down to 0. And that makes the shield essentially disappear, which is pretty cool. You can also, if you want, set it really high and muck about with the controls and the colours. And you can get some pretty cool looking designs here. You can even use them for aesthetics. That looks straight out of Robocraft there. But yeah, it's a very handy little block for setting up your shields. Unfortunately, there's no copy paste button, but it's one of the easier things to set up. I guess we should at least test these before we go. Oh, there we go. Pyoing! We got one! Taking on a Calmar here. Oh, there we go. And that is our shields working effectively. This is great. Just bear in mind that the angle that they're at is really important, and so is the power of the shield and the armor pierce value of the shell. So that's a quick demonstration on shields, how they work, how to place them, and all the fun parts in between. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. Any likes, subs, or comments are really awesome. I love hearing from you guys, and I read every single comment. As always, take it handy, and have a bloody good day.